I'm a fan of big servers. Some of my favorite players of all time are big servers, both on the men's and the women's tour. And on the ATP tour, there's a prestigious club that some big servers get into called the 1000 Club. Now what the 1000 refers to is the amount of aces a player hits throughout the calendar year. And the record holder with the most aces struck in a single season is my favorite server of all time. Even though I didn't place him at number one, I placed Ivo Karlovic at number one, John Isner at number two, and Goran Ivanišević at number three. I'm going to link my greatest servers of all time video in the description. Goran Ivanišević struck 1,477 aces in 1996 in one single season. That is a record that is going to stay alive for a while, because you don't realize how difficult it is to hit 1,000 aces in a season. There have not been that many players who accomplished this feat. Pete Sampras did it once, Andy Roddick did it once, Riley Opelka did it once, Milos Raonic did it twice, Kevin Anderson did it twice, Goran Ivanišević did it 4 times, Ivo Karlovic did it 4 times, and John Isner did it 7 times. And there is actually a young player that was able to get into this club in 2023, Hubert Hurkacz, served over 1,000 aces. So you can see that only 9 players ever have been able to get into this club. But I'm here to tell you that I saw one of the best serves that I've seen in a long time. And it's from a player that you probably never heard of called Martin Damm Jr. Now, some of you guys might be familiar with his dad, Martin Damm Sr. from Czechia, who was a pro player, number 5 in the world in doubles, number 42 in the world in singles, a phenomenal player. And his son was a great junior and is currently ranked 222 in the world. He's 20 years old and he actually happens to be an American. He was born in the United States. So I was not familiar with Martin Damm's playing style. I have heard Brad Gilbert talk about the fact that Martin Damm's son is a really good player. But on Twitter recently, I saw somebody put up a stat of a challenger match in Koblenz in Germany where Martin Damm served 39 aces. And when I hear the number 39 aces in a best-of-3 match, I'm right away thinking about Karlovic, Isner. That is a crazy amount of aces in a best-of-3 match. In fact, the world record for aces in a best-out-of-3 is set by Karlovic at 45 aces. So this got me thinking, I gotta look this kid up and I gotta check out his serve. And I can tell you that what I saw from Martin Damm was one of the cleanest, one of the smoothest service motions that I've seen in a while. It's somewhat reminiscent of John Isner, who had a very clean service motion. There was a very simple movement, good timing, as opposed to Ivo Karlovic, who has an extremely complicated, complex movement with many moving parts. Now, I will say that Martin Damm's serve, to me, looks even cleaner than Isner's. So before I show you a clip of Martin Damm's serve during our Futures tournament, I'm going to tell you about some of the characteristics that I like seeing on the serve. For example, he has a really good timing on his pinpoint stance. In other words, he will pull the back foot up as that racket is going towards the trophy position. He also happens to serve with a lag, so he will toss the ball first while the racket lags behind, and it is a full lag. The racket goes much deeper than it does on Isner, more reminiscent to Karlovic. But when he starts going up, that's where he's more clean, more simple than Karlovic. There's not a lot of movement to the racket as he's going up towards the trophy phase. Now, another reason why I like Damm's serve is that as he goes up into the trophy phase, he begins to load the body, and when that back foot pulls in, he's fully loaded and he will bend forward and backward on his serve. So he's got all the power sources working for him, and I think that he's got is his height, because he happens to be 6'8", but that's not the only thing that's going to make him so dangerous. He also happens to be lefty. Now, I told you about Ivanišević serving 1,477 aces in one season, and one of the greatest attributes to Goran's serve was the fact that it was a lefty serve. So I'm telling you, you can expect Martin Damm Jr. to be the newest member of the 1000 Club. So you're probably thinking, Nick, how is the rest of his game? Is he one of these Riley Opelka types that people call a surf bot, which I think is one of the biggest insults, because Isner, Karlovic, and Opelka are phenomenal players, not only on their serve. The rest of their game is very solid. Isner had an amazing forehand. Opelka has huge ground strokes. He moves exceptionally well for a tall guy. And even Ivo Karlovic had great ground strokes. A very sharp, low trajectory backhand slice and a very strong forehand, and really good at the net as well. So I'm always insulted for those guys when I hear serve bot, because there's a lot more to tennis than serving. But I can tell you that Martin Damm doesn't look like a serve bot to me. He's a very complete player. He actually likes to serve and volley quite a bit from the few matches that I saw from him, and he has a typical modern game. He has a heavy topspin forehand and a two-handed backhand, and he seems to move exceptionally well on the baseline despite his height. That's one of the things that I'm seeing now on tour that I didn't see back in the 90s or even in the early 2000s, which is tall guys that move well. This is something that's changed in tennis. I'm gonna make a full-length video about this. To me, this is the biggest difference between modern tennis nowadays and tennis from the past, where generally when you had taller players, they weren't the greatest movers, which is definitely not the case today. So it's gonna be super interesting to follow Martin Damm. I think that he can break into the top 100 very soon. And once he's there, I think he's gonna be the newest member to the 1000 club.